I would like to request all please settle down, grab their seats. We will start with the call of him. Thank you. Hi, good morning and namaste everyone. Thank you for joining the Shoonya Forum today. I'm Randir Singh from NITI Aayog. I welcome you all on the first annual Shoonya Forum. The campaign was launched on 15th of September last year. Today marks the anniversary of the launch. We have all worked tirelessly over the past 1 year to make sure a resounding success. And today we will reflect on the key highlights of the campaign and discuss how to continue driving the impact. Before proceeding further, I would like to just tell you about a few housekeeping things. First is kindly put your phones on the silent mode. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves when someone is speaking or presenting at the podium. The water, glasses, and the agenda is on your tables. The restrooms are located just left of the main door. Fire and evacuation exits are located on both sides of the door and marked with green exit signs. And please reach out to Ms. Samita and Chetna if you have any questions. Numbers are on the board which is capped on the desk. Now again, very good morning. And the saying goes, transition to green mobility is not a choice, but a necessity. Therefore, we bring to you the Shoonya. The Shoonya Zero Pollution Mobility, as we know, is a consumer and corporate facing campaign to accelerate ride-hailing and final mile delivery. Shoonya also refers to the mission of reducing the negative impact and maximizing the positive impact across the urban food and passenger transport value chain. It is a participation and collaboration like today that has made Shoonya so successful. Industry engagement has been one of the key elements of the Shoonya campaign. Shoonya is conceived in partnership with the industry. In fact, it's an industry-led campaign. Our partners are involved in every aspect of the campaign. All of us have gathered here today as part of an ecosystem that holds the potential to cause a paradigm shift to greener mobility across the globe. We have been shooting collaterals, Shoonya stickers to our Shoonya partners to paste on their vehicles, chargers, parcels, to build awareness around deliveries. Partners are using the Shoonya collaterals and we appeal to industry leaders for continued support in consumer outreach through proper corporate branding. Now, one of the aims of Shoonya is to provide customers with a knowledge and resources platform. This is related to the EV transition and procurement. To do this, I'm pleased to announce the launch of the first two Shoonya toolkits. First is the EV calculator that enables users to access the cost, emissions, benefits of switching to EVs in their respective regions. And the second is the financing toolkit that provides an overview of different EV lending products available and help users better understand key parameters so that they can secure EV loan specific to their needs. Can we have the resource toolkit?
As part of Shoonya's online Toolkits, we are excited to announce the launch of the EV Calculator tool and the Financing Resources tool. The EV Calculator tool helps the consumers understand cost and emissions benefits switching to EVs in their respective geography. This user-friendly tool can be utilized by both general consumers and industries.
Users can select the inputs such as the vehicle type, the use case, region, daily distance traveled, and even fuel type to compare their cost with an emissions saving against an EV by the best program.
The tool showcases how switching to an EV can enable significant cost savings over the lifetime of the vehicle.
Users can also learn more about the breakdown of the costs and get additional insights into the main cost drivers for each powertrain, such as capital cost and maintenance cost.
The tool also allows users to understand CO2, particulate matter, and NOx emission reductions from switching to EVs. We are also excited to launch the Financing Resources tool. Choosing the right financing option while purchasing an electric vehicle can help our consumers save more money.
The financing resources tool helps consumers learn and understand the lending process so they can secure an EV loan specific to their needs.
The tool walks you through what a typical EV loan application process looks like. And educating on the best practices to secure an EV loan. This tool can help you along your financing journey by providing relevant information in the loan application process, the terms and conditions, and in listed banks and MBFCs offering loans. With the showcase tools, we hope to raise awareness around the significant environmental, economic, energy security, and health benefits of switching to an EV. Also, we hope to enable the consumers to make informed choices in their own transition to electric vehicles.
Today, we want to use this forum as an opportunity to share success stories and highlight the big wins from the first year of the Shoonya campaign. We will start with a brief presentation after highlighting the previous year's achievements, followed by special remarks by the dignitaries. Later, we will hear exciting announcements and commitments from our corporate partners on scaling of EV adoption and some of our other plans. The first half of the event will wrap up with a panel discussion on driving the electrification of delivery and ride-hailing vehicles in India. During the later half of the day, that's when the excitement starts. We are hosting thematic group discussions on communicating for impact this side, EV finance, mobilizing EV finance this side, and advancing EV policies in India into this corner. Through the interactive dialogues, the forum will provide opportunities for corporates to share the solutions for scaling electric vehicles and solicit feedback on how to drive scale and impact to the Shoonya campaign. I sincerely hope you enjoy today's celebration and thank you all for your continued leadership in driving change in the e-mobility ecosystem. सदियों पहले भारत ने विश्व को अनोखा उपहार दिया। भारतीय गणितज्ञ आर्यभट्ट की सोच से पूरे ज्ञान विज्ञान को नई दिशा में और तकनीकी खोजों से हमारी दुनिया बदली। शून्य एक ऐसा उपहार जो कुछ भी नहीं और सब कुछ है, जो भी है उसका आधार है शून्य। इसने हमें दी है अनगिनत से हमारी जिंदगी आसान हुई है। हमारी ख्वाहिशों से लेके जरूरतें सब पूरी हो जाती है, मुश्किलें दूर हो जाती हैं और हमारा कीमती समय बचता है। अपने दुनिया में अब खुशियां फैल जाती हैं।
हमारा सपनों और आशाओं की तरफ एक कदम और बढ़ जाता है। अब यही चीज फिर से देश को देगा एक और बढ़ावा। देश की जानी मानी नीति आयोग के सहयोग से शून्य जीरो पॉल्यूशन एक ऐसा कदम जो इलेक्ट्रिक वाले जल्द ही आपकी खरीद और नई शून्य है। चले स्वच्छ हवा की मिशन जीरो पॉल्यूशन दोबारा जोड़ शून्य देगा प्रदूषण।
Thank you, Mr. Singh, for outlining how Shoonya fosters change leadership and with robust coalition and engaging consumer awareness platform. And congratulations, Shoonya team, for launching two dynamic resource tools. I hope they will be beneficial for you all and for the wider audience. I am Ankur from RMI India, and I am pleased to welcome you all to the first Shoonya Forum. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Samita Shiladar from RMI, who has been instrumental to Shoonya's implementation and success. Ms. Shiladar will highlight key accomplishments of the Shoonya campaign over the last year.
Thank you so much, everyone, and welcome to the first Shoonya Forum. I'm really excited to recap the journey of the campaign as Shoonya turns one. Exactly 1 year ago, let me figure the clicker out quickly. Exactly 1 year ago, when we were outreaching on the campaign, the goal was to create a campaign that reduces air pollution and supports existing policies. Transport being one of the highest emitters in India, we decided to focus the campaign on commercial freight as well as passenger movement. The vision of the campaign is to have 100% of the deliveries and rides completed on electric vehicles. With industry partners, we named the campaign Shoonya because the campaign signifies Shoonya pollution, Shoonya extra costs, and Shoonya emissions. We are doing that using three main pillars of the campaign. The first component of the campaign is a corporate branding program. As part of the corporate branding program, we have a growing cohort of 130 corporate partners who are using Shoonya collaterals to inform consumers that rides and deliveries have been completed with electric vehicles. The cohort of campaign includes companies from OEM classes, from charging and swapping infrastructure providers, and as well as financing companies, fleet aggregators, e-commerce companies, food deliveries companies, and ride-hailing companies. Our partners have started implementing collaterals into their supply chain. So every driver who is delivering any parcel on electric vehicle is putting stickers on the package, a name badge on his driver uniform, as well as stickers on the vehicle. The second component of the campaign is a consumer awareness drive. Last year, we launched a brand film that you all just saw. The brand film has received over 60 million views on different social media platforms. One of the biggest milestones of the Shoonya campaign was actually partnering with Mygov. With Mygov, we have launched different collaterals like quizzes, pledge, as well as doodle competition on Mygov website. The quiz has been taken by over 30,000 citizens. The pledge has been taken by over 11,000 citizens, and we have over 600 entries for doodle competition. Shoonya is also planning on promoting EV awareness by using different social media as well as digital media channels. We had a very successful World Environment Day campaign on social media. We also have created a newsletter that highlights the achievements by corporates, as well as we have several blogs and op-eds that are promoting awareness about the Shoonya campaign. In the future, Shoonya campaign is also planning on hosting podcasts that will highlight the success stories of innovators in the electric vehicle space. We are also planning on hosting different competitions like reels and jingle competition as well as photography competition in partnership with Mygov. The third pillar of the Shoonya campaign is an online resource toolkit. As you saw just today, we launched first two toolkits of the Shoonya campaign, first being an EV calculator that shows the impact of EV transition, and the second tool being financing resources that will help consumers with procuring electric vehicles. We are planning on launching Impact Dashboard, a vehicle directory, as well as a policy mapping tool in coming months. Now today, we need your help with the fourth pillar of the campaign. Shoonya is a unique coalition because it is a government-led campaign, it is consumer-facing, and it is operated by corporates. That puts all of us in a unique position where we can really use the stakeholder coalition to advance policymaking, communication, as well as mobilizing EV financing. And that exactly is the reason why we have hosted 3 different breakout sessions as part of today's event. In the second half of the event, we need your help in terms of expanding the scope of campaign and again ideating on Shoonya's first anniversary on how can we further scale the impact of the campaign to have higher electric vehicle adoption. To do so, we'll have first working group on communicating for impact that will focus on driving behavior change using stakeholder engagement as well as consumer awareness. The second group will focus on mobilizing EV finance. Our growing cohort of companies now also includes different financing companies. So as part of this unique combination, we also want to identify solution pathways that can resolve different market barriers related to electric vehicle financing. And finally, we also want to use this stakeholder coalition and identify ways in which we can inform and support policy making in India as it relates to electric vehicles. I hope all of you will join the sessions and help us with the foundation of this fourth pillar of the campaign as well. Thank you so much for your continued support on the campaign and looking forward to having you for the entire event.
Thank you, Ms. Shiladar, for the presentation and sharing Shoonya's model for change. To start today's plenary proceedings, I would like to kindly request our dignitaries to join us on the stage. It's my honor to invite Shri Parmeshwaran Iyer, Chief Executive Officer of NITI Aayog. Sir, may I request you to take the stage, please? Next, it's my pleasure to invite Shri Abhishek Singh, Chief Executive Officer of Mygov. Sir, please join us on the stage. Up next, I would like to invite Shri Subhendra Sinha, Advisor of Infrastructure Connectivity, Transport and Electric Mobility at NITI Aayog to join us on the stage. On behalf of the Shoonya Coalition, I would like to thank you all for being here today. Now, I would like to invite a champion who has been instrumental in spearheading EV transition in India. May I request Shri Subhendra Sinha from NITI Aayog to share his remarks. Sir.
Thank you. So, welcome to CEO NITI Aayog, Mr. Parmeshwar Iyer, sir, Mr. Abhishek Singh from Mygov. You know, when we started last year, this Shoonya campaign, we were sure that this is going to be a success. But how much time it would take, that was always a kind of, better doubt, see. We were thinking it might take a little longer. But the best thing is, and for this, the entire industry needs to be congratulated, that you have taken it on an absolutely top-class pace, you see. Within a year, this much of phenomenal success on an awareness campaign, this is something unheard of all over the world, I would say. So this is the kind of thing that you Now, as it has been so clearly said that it is, NITI has just triggered it. It is not led by us, it is led by you. It is your own volition. That is the reason why I would say that please come out with stronger commitments and live up to the commitments. And I can see the way you are changing, the vehicles are changing, the number of deliveries are now going into millions and millions. So are the rights. So is the viewership of this particular the film the documentary that we saw. So basically, the reason that this zero pollution delivery should be there is, in addition to mitigating the ill effects of pollution, what it does is, it's a mobile kind of awareness thing that moves on. So whichever area you enter into, whichever residential block, the delivery goes on, where from it is starting, any logistic point where it is starting from, everywhere you see that people get sensitized that something is happening. And we spent last year a lot of time that what should be the logo of Shoonya, how this forefinger should be placed so that it forms zero and all those things. So congratulations to each one of you. So at this time, I would like, as a kind of, morning thing also, that we must raise 3 cheers for the Shoonya campaign. So 3 cheers for Shoonya Forum. Can't hear you. This is the reason, industry has a low voice. And you expect government to always react positively. 3 cheers to Shoonya Forum. 3 cheers to Shoonya Forum. And you always ask, sir, they always ask me that how is new CEO? Basically what they want to ask is, what is the new CEO's commitment to electric mobility, green mobility? Now let me tell you this thing very clearly, and this is what I respond to them, sir, that he is absolutely focused, and he had extended the entire logic of green mobility to lifestyle. You see, life. That is a movement of the Prime Minister. So now, all the more this green mobility and commitment towards it and pushing it forward, that becomes the more important. Then yes, if they listen the same thing from you, sir, it will be so better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for highlighting the criticality of zero pollution mobility and offering a pathway to accelerate the e-mobility transition in India. As Ms. Chilizar in her presentation highlighted the role of Mygov, Mygov has elevated Shoonya's consumer awareness outreach. And now Shoonya is a nationally recognized platform. Now I would like to request Shri Abhishek Singh from Mygov to share his special address.
Thank you. My most respected senior, Shri Parameshwar and Iyer, CEO NITI Aayog, colleague Surenji from NITI Aayog, who is driving this campaign, partners from RMI, corporate associates for the Shoonya campaign. It's indeed a proud privilege for me and Mygov to be associated with this very, very important campaign, Shoonya. As first and foremost, I would like to congratulate the whole team for 1 year of activities. And when we saw the video, which was so powerful, a short video, and no wonder it got 65 million views. And I was just texting when I saw the video to my team that we must promote this on Mygov channels and ensure that it reaches to more and more people in order to ensure that the objectives of Shoonya reaches each one and everyone. And as was mentioned, like adoption of e-vehicles is like becoming mainstream now. People are adopting not only for the cost advantages that it gives, but also for the advantages for reducing pollution, making our carbon footprint lesser, and ensuring that we adopt sustainable ways of living our lives. And as Vinji pointed out, it gels very well with the life campaign that we are partnering in NITI Aayog under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister. We all know, as I mentioned about life, the lifestyle for environment in the COP26 summit, where we made our commitments for doing net zero by 2070. So that would require a concerted effort by all of us. And one sector which can lead this effort towards a net zero objective would be the mobility sector, would be the adoption of EV, would be the replacement of all fossil fuel consuming vehicles with electric vehicles. Everyone whom I have interacted with who owns a EV swears by it. Well, I know his fuel costs have come down and the rides and everything becomes much more comfortable. So how do we ensure that this messaging, which is limited right now maybe to the tier 1 cities, the tier 2 cities, how does it reach every small town in India, every block in India, every village in India? How do we ensure that people in the rural areas also adopt? Very often we have big cities wherein there are directions of the Supreme Court and every authority which ensures compliance to pollution norms. We have to really achieve the objectives of net zero, we will have to take this communication far and wide. Wherein Mygov does play a role. We are the government citizen engagement platform. We communicate with citizens all government policies. We take inputs from the citizens in regard to what the citizens want. So effectively, Mygov serves as a bridge between citizens and government. We have more than 25 million registered users on our platform. We engage with us regularly. We are one of the most followed channels on social media, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook. At Mygov India is Government of India's leading social media channel. And we do communications. We have been working with NITI Aayog and other government departments in behavioral change communications. Remember the partnership we have had under the guidance and leadership of our CEO NITI Aayog when he was in bringing on stagnation, driving the Swachh Bharat movement. It was while Swachh Bharat required physical infrastructure, but a lot of it was about behavioral change, about attitudinal change. The campaign has taught us like how every Indian, whether it's a 3-year-old or a senior citizen, all of them are now aware of the importance of toilets and how Swachh Bharat is one of our goals, one of our objectives, and which leads to better health, better hygiene, and better life for everyone. We have been working on campaigns like the COVID-19 campaign, which was also like a behavioral change campaign. How do we communicate wearing of masks, social distancing, terms like asymptomatic, quarantine, all of it required was a communication challenge. More than a health challenge, it was also like letting people know what are the risks following the right behavior. So Mygov works with all departments, and this association with NITI Aayog, especially the Shoonya campaign, is a very enriching one. In fact, my team, which is working on this project, is always very excited. We have to do a quiz and looking into the statistics, like so far, every month we are getting more than 30,000 participants in the quiz. In July, we had around 29,000. August, we had 31,000. And September, the September round of quiz was launched only on 10th of September. And we already have around 5,500 participants on the quiz. The pledge on such socially, we already have more than 11,000 people who have taken the pledge on Shoonya. And we are reaching out to more people so that almost everyone who is associated with the sector, who's an influencer, takes this pledge and adopts that. The Google Doodle contest is one of the most followed campaigns that we have done. And my other teams also saying that we should do more such Google Doodle campaigns on Mygov. Within a few days, we have got more than 650 entries. This will be podcasts, we'll be reaching out to industry leaders, we'll be reaching out to people who are making a change in adoption of EV, we'll be approaching you for your podcasts, for your views. And many similar campaigns are planned on the social media, on our platform, and on also events like this when we talk about what we are doing and what more we can do. We also have a page on which we are inviting suggestions from citizens for life, the lifestyle for environment, what we can do. And this Shoonya campaign is one of the key pillars that can become a part of the life campaign. So I will call upon all of you to also come and think of what are the suggestions that the government can do, that we all can do as part of the society, as part of the nation, in order to ensure that we preserve our environment, we are able to take up sustainable development. So I thank the organizers, RMI, NITI Aayog, once again for taking up this very important campaign. Mygov is proud to be a part of that, this whole campaign, and will continue to support this and become a partner as we go ahead. Thank you once again. Shoonya for all.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the catalytic effect consumer awareness can have on EV adoption. NITI Aayog has been a leader pioneering the EV transition in India. Now may I request Shri Parmeshwaran Iyer, Chief Executive Officer NITI Aayog, to make a keynote address to today's gathering.
I think this thing is. So my colleague Abhishek, Sudhendu, partners from RMI, all of you present today. It's a privilege to be here today. It's a fascinating campaign. I was looking at the video, and clearly this has resonated not just in India but around the world. The Shoonya campaign, a brilliant logo as well. I've got to say, when we did the Swachh Bharat mission, the Prime Minister came up with this brilliant idea of Gandhiji's spectacles as the logo. And the tagline of Ek Kadam Swachhata Ki Or, that was a very powerful symbol. Symbols are quite important. And I think this Shoonya campaign symbol is very, very good and very powerful. So congratulations again to all of you, the team in NITI, all the partners for coming up with this campaign. We're missing Amitabh, my predecessor. Hopefully he'll be joining us soon. But again, all this was done under his leadership. So wanted to thank Amitabh for pushing electric mobility and green mobility, which is a very high priority, both for NITI, for the government, and to reassure Sudhendu for myself as well. Again, 1 year of this campaign, I think it's done a fabulous job. We've seen the results, the involvement of the public, the involvement of corporates, the 130 partners. I mean, that's how programs and campaigns are run. And clearly, this is going to scale, it will go to scale. But as Abhishek mentioned, I think it will be important to take it all the way down to the tier 2, 3, 4 cities, urban areas, but also peri-urban areas. Rural India is urbanizing quite rapidly. All the electric mobility, the green mobility we're talking about, I think is picking up everywhere. So I think that will be one important point. But coming to a few other points regarding the whole mobility campaign in terms of it being green, as was mentioned, this is a very critical component or element of India's decarbonization strategy. As you know, the Honorable Prime Minister announced the Panchamrit at COP26 in Glasgow. So the whole climate strategy for India, all the way up to a net zero deadline of 2070, with many concrete milestones along the way. And here, green mobility is going to play a major role in that whole decarbonization strategy. So, and Shoonya is a fantastic campaign which can lead people to believe, to commit, and actually to move forward at an individual basis, and a collective basis, and a corporate basis towards electric mobility. So we spoke a little bit about the LIFE campaign, which is LIFE, is lifestyle for the environment. Again, something which the Honorable Prime Minister announced at COP26 in Glasgow. Now, what is that all about? It's very similar. And I think that the Shoonya campaign figures complements the LIFE campaign very well. It's about how individuals, communities, corporates, governments, institutions can all take simple actions towards, improving the environment and reducing emissions as well. So, whether you're going to substitute plastic for cloth, or you walk up the stairs, or you use less water, simple actions, public transport again, but then if you're doing electric mobility, how can you get into green mobility in a cost-effective manner? All these are going to be very important for the environment, and that's all part of life. And Shoonya's, I was just talking to Abhishek and Sudhendu, very much fits in under the sort of overall life banner. So let me just come up with a few points on life and how NITI sees it. So again, as we know, whether you're focusing on last mile delivery, the gig economy, delivery systems, again, there is a compelling need to move towards green mobility. That's very clear. With urban freight demand expected to increase by 115%, and we are being told commercial passenger vehicle movement expected to double by 2030. Again, this growing demand has got to be met with efficient, clean, and cost-effective logistics and technology solutions. And at the heart of that is the Shoonya campaign, which is a zero pollution mobility campaign. The vision is to significantly reduce air pollution in India by promoting the use of electrical vehicles for deliveries and ride hailing, as was mentioned earlier. I think that's the focus area of Shoonya. And today, a year later, I think we've made very good progress. Again, we'd also like to thank Abhishek and his team and Mygov. They've been consistently front-running all government citizen interface campaigns. Done a fantastic job. We've been working with Abhishek and team for the last 7 years. Whether it was Swachh Bharat, or whether it's Life, or whether it's Shoonya, and many other campaigns. I think they've been at the forefront. So I wanted to congratulate and thank Abhishek and team for the phenomenal collaboration. This is a very dynamic team, and we hope we will continue taking this movement forward. Now, I wanted to thank all the Shoonya partners. So today we have got 130 partners, and they support all the facets of the EV ecosystem, which include cutting-edge e-commerce companies, food delivery companies, vehicle manufacturers, fleet aggregators, charging and swapping infrastructure providers, and financiers. So they're leading the way. All the innovation technology is going to come from you guys, from the private sector. And the collaborative effort of this cohort, I think it truly embodies the spirit of Shoonya. Again, Shoonya was conceived entirely through a collaboration with industry partners. And so again, public sector, private sector leaders have come together. And there have been some bold policies and corporate commitments to take this forward for greater adoption of electrical vehicles in India. And this is now starting to snowball. It's become an irresistible movement. And I think it's going to get scaled up very rapidly. But there's still scope, as we mentioned, to take it to newer heights. So whether it's in urban areas, in metros, I think it really needs to be pushed down. And again, we'll work on that perhaps with all our partners. And how can we take this, how can we sort of democratize the Shoonya movement? I think that's going to be very important. But particularly this multi-stakeholder engagement, that's what is really driving the success of Shoonya. It's industry, government, civil society, think tanks, etc., which are driving this movement forward. And I think it's important for us to identify policy bottlenecks so that we can jointly try to unlock them. That's also the role of NITI. We play a very important troubleshooting role, a policy formulation role, but also just driving these kinds of campaigns together with partners such as yourselves. One point I wanted to highlight is the need for financing. Right? Clearly, whether it's the role of financing is going to be critical to scaling up EV adoption. We have a host of financial organizations here today, together with original equipment manufacturers, fleet aggregators, and charging station providers. So how can we reduce the risk EV financing? How can funding be mobilized from the private sector through the banking sector? What are those policy, blockages, if any, which need to be unlocked? I think it's very important that we discuss those today. This is going to be a critical role. Climate financing, as you know, is a major issue. And there's a big role for the northern countries to support the southern countries in climate financing. There's a big commitment at all the COPs. But when we come to the specific sector of financing electric mobility, I think within our own country, there are issues which need to be resolved, which we are very happy to work with you towards. So then, I think the awareness this campaign is bringing is very, very important. We need to take it forward even more. It's been an excellent start. And let me finally thank all of you for the tremendous work over the last year. I think today is a time to take stock of what we've achieved, and to strategize for what more needs to be done over the coming weeks, months, and years. So looking forward to a very sort of intense discussion and a fruitful discussion. So I wish you all the best for today's discussion and for taking this program forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging words and for NITI Aayog's unwavering commitment to Shoonya. Your leadership has led many national missions and programs. With your guidance, we expect Shoonya also reaching greater success. Now, we would like to present a token of appreciation to our esteemed guest. May I request Shri Sudhir Sinha to present token of appreciation to our dignitaries on stage. Thank you, sir. We are grateful to all our dignitaries for joining us today in the forum and guiding us with their encouraging words. That concludes our plenary session. Now, I would like to invite my colleague Chetna Nagpal to host our corporate announcement assembly. May I request the dignitaries to kindly join us for the upcoming session from their respective seats. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ankur. Good morning, everyone. I'm Chetna Nagpal. I'm working with RMI India. Bold industry commitments and innovation are needed to drive the transition to zero pollution mobility. OEMs, fleet operators, financiers, charging point operators, e-commerce companies, and ride-hailing companies. They all are vital to accelerating the electric mobility ecosystem in India. We are privileged to have 130 leading corporations as part of the Shoonya campaign. Bold commitments from our partners have been an essential part of the campaign as it has driven motivation and innovation within the industry. Today, we have 25 Shoonya partners that are gathered here to share their announcements related to their commitments to scale the EV ecosystem in India. Without further ado, it's time to turn to them and hear about what they've done and plan to do in the coming few months to push the EV ecosystem. I'm going to start calling companies alphabetically to come and announce their commitments. Our request to all the partners would be to kindly limit their announcement to 60 seconds. My colleagues will be playing their presentations on the screens and kindly stick to 60 seconds so that we can allow consistency across partners. To start with, may I announce Amazon India representative to please come on the stage for their presentation. Very good morning to everyone. I'm Shweta Ramdas. I lead sustainability for Amazon India operations. And decarbonizing our transportation fleet is an important step and crucial to meeting our climate pledge, through which we have committed to be net zero carbon by 2040. And to that effect, we have committed to include 10,000 EVs into our fleet. We're also really honored to have partnered with Shoonya and through RMI and NITI Aayog to further bolster our commitment to electrify our transportation fleet. Thank you. Thanks, Shweta Ramadas. Now may I please invite Santosh Desai from the Newsroom to announce the commitment.
Hello all, a very good morning to all of you. We are Blohan, so we do last mile delivery. So we are a same day delivery company which helps brands scale. We right now have 30% of our fleet on the clean energy sector, which includes EV and CNG. And we are committed to convert this to 100% by 2025.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Desai. May I now invite Mr. Ankur Madan from Charge Up.
Thank you, everyone. We at Charge Up are basically powering the growth of drivers in the last mile mobility. We are a private company where we focus on enhancing of the electric vehicles, the network for their swappings, and technology to provide a safe and reliable ride. We are committing to financing and powering 2,000 electric two-wheelers, 500 swap stations by March 23. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Madan. Now may I please invite Mr. Puneet Prakash from CityLink.
Very good morning to all of you. I'm Puneet, and I'm heading I'm the CEO of CityLink. We have been in this journey now for almost a year. We were a trucking company way back, started in 2016, but in the year 2021 is where we took our plunge into green energy. We are happy to share that within a year's time, we have been able to build 30% of our fleet as EV. That close to the 800 vehicles on road every day, and out of which 30% are electric vehicles. And mind you, my friends, these are all investments from our side. These are not aggregated. These are money that we have put down, irrespective of whatever we have taken the plunge. So we feel we have the power of Shoonya with us. That is something which goes without saying, that Shoonya gives you that power. You place it at the right side of a whole number, it gives you at least next kind of jump. So we are happy to have Shoonya by our right hand side. So happy to be here and wish the entire Shoonya team your able leadership. Wish you all the very best. Thank you so much.
Now may I please invite EVRE to announce their commitment. Can we move on to the Exponent Energy? May I invite Mr. Arun Vinayak for his presentation.
Everyone, thanks for having me. EVs have to go mainstream. Flexibility and freedom is critical. We're able to charge them, keep going. That's what mobility is all about. That's what we solve for an Exponent. We've got a 15-minute charging solution, so you can charge up and keep going. And this allows logistics segments to go electric seamlessly, right? We're setting up 100 e-pumps in a city like Bangalore. To put context, there are only 450 petrol stations in Bangalore. So across the last 100 years, all the petrol companies across petrol, diesel, CNG, gas, there's only 450 in Bangalore. So now that we've got 15-minute charging, we're now working on ensuring finding a charging station is as easy as finding a petrol station. You can charge up and keep going. We're pushing 2,000 vehicles. Altitude is also part of Shoonya. And that's at the beginning. We hope to scale that up to other cities with other partners in the EV manufacturing space. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I please request all the presenters for the corporate commitments to please gather on the right-hand side of the stage. next with us is Mr. Shravan Apanna from Mygov. So may I please request you to join on the stage?
Namaste, everyone. I have three stats for you. Along with the zero, there are three stats for you. 3 lakh crore is the economic cost of road accidents across India. Okay, something that needs to be addressed. Less than 5% of women participation in deliveries and ride hailing, and 50% of logistics cost is last mile. Okay, so that is what we aim to address with our unique vehicle. We cannot solve these problems with age-old vehicles that we have been following, especially in the two-wheeler segment. Hardly any innovation happening. So that's what we aim to target, and we are launching our vehicle and trying to solve this problem. And coming from Shoonya to life, as Honorable Parmeshwaran sir has said, right? So in the personal mobility as well, we need to build vehicles that are futuristic, and that is where. Yeah, thank you. So going from Shoonya to life, even in personal mobility, we want to build a vehicle that is for the future, that enables, decongestion for our metro cities, right? 1 billion cars already choking our metro cities, and how do we decongest for the future? That's what we are aiming to solve by 2027. 2024, we are planning to launch our new age vehicle for personal mobility as well. Thanks a lot for this opportunity, guys.
Thanks, everyone. I'm pleased to share that Mr. Amitabh Kant is here with us. So may I request Ranveer Singh to please join us on the stage and welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming, out of your busy schedule. So sir will be here for 10, 15 minutes with us, but I think we'll try to make most of it. Without wasting time, I'll ask sir, Mr. Amitabh Khan, to be on dais and address all of us. Mr. Amitabh Khan. Yes. My very distinguished Mr. Paramaya, Mr. Abhishek, Mr. Sinha, and all the heads of RMI who are here. So let me first compliment all the industry partners, because this was an industry initiative. We have played a role in running RMI, and I wanted to compliment basically NITI's electric vehicle team, which is a very, very dynamic team, which initiated this. And they initiated this on their own. Actually, I was just a facilitator, catalyst, and I would like to give credit to Mr. Sinha and Ranveer in particular, because Ranveer led this initiative, and this speaks volumes about NITI's young lateral entrants who, on their own initiative, work with the private sector. So, what Shoonya initiative shows is that actually if we work in partnership with the private sector for last mile connectivity, and all the private sectors took up this entire campaign. So this is not a government campaign. Actually, Shoonya is totally a private sector-led campaign by all of you. So I really came just to congratulate the private sector of India, all of you who have played a very critical role in this and driving this. So Shoonya is basically, I've been a long-term believer that there is a green mobility revolution knocking on our door, and this is inevitable. We are heading towards a shared, connected, and an electric mobility world. This is inevitable because those who do not participate in this world will not be able to grow, their valuations will not grow, they will not prosper, they will not be able to attract capital from anywhere in the world. This is inevitable. In the next 4 to 5 years, the disruption will be so rapid that only electric vehicles will survive.
There will be no combustion vehicles in the next 5 years. When NITI Aayog started this movement, there was, I still recall, there was a lot of objection from established players. All established players said that it was not possible. But the young startups and the young entrepreneurs said that this is doable, this is possible, and actually all young companies took it upon themselves to drive the electric mobility revolution in this country forward. They drove it. And because they drove it, established players were forced, they disrupted the market, and then established players were forced to go electric. So what it really demonstrates is that change in India will happen through young companies, it will happen through startups, it will happen through young entrepreneurs who force change on established players. And the Shoonya movement for last mile connectivity, if last mile bit in India is taken care of, if all supplies are made through electric mobility, then it will truly transform India. And consumer will then believe that he's getting green products through green vehicles. That is truly remarkable. So I am of the great belief that NITI Aayog has given several great initiatives, the production and incentives for batteries, for automobile manufacturing towards greener vehicles, electric vehicles, all path-breaking schemes. But one of the key initiatives driven by lateral entrance of NITI Aayog was this Shoonya initiative, and all in partnership with the private sector. And this has been a remarkable success story. It's been 1 year, but in the field, we've demonstrated that it is possible to achieve success, and we've delivered this. So a lot of praise for this really goes to the private sector. So I'll just take this opportunity to congratulate NITI Aayog, its very dynamic electric vehicle team, its partnership with Mygov. So I would like to congratulate Abhishek, who's played a very key and critical role, Rocky Mountain Institute, who's worked in partnership with state governments. 25 governments are covered with EV policies because of NITI Aayog. NITI Aayog worked in partnership with state governments to come out electric vehicle policies. So this has been again a path-breaking thing because India is a very large country. It's bigger than 24 countries in Europe, plus 30,000 kilometers. Now each state takes upon itself that we are going to drive an electric mobility revolution in this country. When electric mobility revolution will happen, it's inevitable. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are the ones driving disruption, you are the ones who are driving change, you are the ones who are driving transformation, and you are the ones who are driving the electric mobility revolution in India. My good wishes and all my congratulations to all of you and to the young lateral entry teams of NITI Aayog, who's done a remarkable work. Thank you very much. I'll request CEO sir to give a token of gratitude to CPAP concept. No, please, sir, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a historic moment, you see. CEO giving a token to Sherpa, who had initiated this particular campaign. So, huge round of applause. If we have a standing ovation, please. Standing ovation requested, please. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Your presence always makes the difference, big sir. Thank you.
Now we will do the paid launch. Request please to be on the dive. Swam sir, Akshana, Jagvanta, please. Here we are live on the stage for the report launch titled The Need for Advanced Chemistry Energy Storage Cells in India. The series of the reports highlight the need for energy storage to meet India's decarbonization goals and ensure energy security. The reports point to the potential that can be captured through domestic battery manufacturing and lay emphasis on ensuring long-term sustainable growth in the sector. Thank you all for joining us for the report launch. May I request my colleague Chetna Napal to continue with the corporate and commitments section.
Thanks, Ankur, and thanks to all the corporate partners who have already shared their announcements with us. To resume the corporate announcement, may I please invite Rahul Gupta from Magenta to share his announcement. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rahul Gupta. I am representing Aggregator Mobility. And I feel very privileged to be presenting our corporate commitments in front of you, all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting us. Here we are. We are a company who is really trying to build an ecosystem. The company seeks funded by HPCL, incubated by Shell, and also been selected for Microsoft startup program. What we are, in a nutshell, if I have to tell it, we are the largest integrated e-mobility player in India. How we are, let me explain. If you can see the left-hand side of the screen, we are building a smart, customized EV chargers. We are building it in-house. We also have the charging software. We also have the charging software and the fleet management software, all built in-house. And we are deploying the in-house technology with the products in fleet charging house for customers and for ourselves as well. We started a pilot back in January 2021 with a couple of vehicles in Bengaluru. Now that pilot has become so big that we launched our Hyderabad operations last month with Amazon and last week with Flipkart in Delhi NCR. So with respect to our corporate commitments, we are looking to deploy 2,000 vehicles by March 2023 for the last mile delivery cargo transportation. We look to scale it up to 9,800 vehicles by December 2023. And we look to avoid CO2 emissions of somewhere around 15,000 tons, but that is not all. We look to create an sustainable employment for the drivers that we will be associating with, more than 12,000 drivers. This is all from my side. Thank you so much for inviting us. Looking forward to hearing other speakers as well. Thank you so much.
May I please invite Ms. Mishra on the stage to share Mahindra Electric Mobility Limited announcement. Thank you. I'm Suman Mishra, the CEO of Mahindra Electric, and it's a real pleasure to be here. We are one of the leading players today in the last mile mobility, and we have put 53,000 e-vehicles on the road, growing as we speak every day. This is equal to 115 crore e-kilometers and 55 lakh trees. So we are truly committed to the sustainability of the last mile. We recently launched the best-in-class cargo product, Zoe, which will allow all the logistics fleet players to meet their needs. It has the best range, the best TCO, best earnability, best power, and I'm sure this will allow us to scale up the electrification of the cargo segment. And as the leading player, we are really committed to creating the ecosystem for the last mile by partnering with the charging providers, fleet partners, financiers, residual value creators, and everybody else, so we can create a holistic solution. And we are really committed to lead the charge on that as well. And as far as the numbers and commitments go, we hope to scale up by 5x in investing in product, technology, channel, and everything else. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mishra. May I request Mr. Dilli Babu from Mojo Green on the stage, please?
Thanks everyone for having us. I am Dilli Babu. I'm one of the founders at Mojo Green. To give a quick introduction, Mojo Green is an electric vehicle charging company. We specialize in building battery integrated charging systems, which makes it easier for anybody to deploy charging infrastructure at scale and make it accessible for everyone. We are here to announce a couple of our product launches, and we're grateful to be doing this in this platform. We are launching one of our products called Quick, which is a mobile electric vehicle fast charger. This was conceived as an alternative to traditional fast charging systems. It comes integrated with lithium-ion batteries. Unlike traditional systems, this does not require a lot of infrastructure. It's quick to deploy. It takes hours to deploy.
More importantly, it provides the flexibility where you can bring the charger to the customer and not always the consumer finding the charging stations, which is what the key value proposition for the Quick. We pledge to deploy about 100 mobile charging stations by 2024. We also have another product which we are launching called Pocket, which is a portable electric vehicle charger, which was conceived as an emergency power bank for electric vehicles, which fleet operators and EV owners can carry with themselves. And you can add critical miles during emergencies when they're running out of charge. So these are two products we're launching, and we're happy to be providing this platform to do so. And we pledge about deploying 100 mobile charging stations by 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babu. Next up is Omega City Mobility, requesting Mr. Ruben Aram to please join us on stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Excited first to be here. What Shoonya is doing is really, really beautiful. I mean, we all need to worry about green energy and sustainability. It's great to see all these great companies here. Obviously, Omega City Mobility, we are bringing a silent revolution, not just in India, but across the world. Really, my main agenda is to bring hot electric. This is extremely, extremely important. We're going to be selling 30,000 vehicles of L5 cargo in India. In India, we're going to be building quite a few facilities all across the world. Most importantly, making India for the global. We're also building the passenger vehicle, where we think we're going to be over 25,000 vehicles in the next 18 months. We are making, 3-wheelers, 2-wheelers, and 4-wheelers between 1.5 ton to 40 tons, in the electric space, not just here in India, also globally. And once again, most important part is that trying to make a huge difference in this green energy sustainability that is going on in India. Obviously, we'll be doing quite a bit of stuff in the last mile. Working together to build the ecosystem in charging. Clearly, it's not just about selling vehicles. It's about building the charging, the infrastructure, the batteries, and making sure that the supply chains are here, because we all want to build vehicles, but we don't have the supply chain. We've got to be able to have that. And so we're working on that. And I will also work on retrofitting. We are working on building retrofitting plant here also in the next 18 months. I think there is a whole lot of work, and I think, as I say many places, I think this is just the trailer, the movie's just begun, and it's so exciting to see all of you, all different players, competing together, and the old players and the new players. This is where electrification is changing everything. Obviously, then we'll have blue energy. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Naram. May I now request Mr. Sameer Agrawal from Refin to please join us on stage.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sameer Agrawal from Refin. First of all, I want to thank Shoonya for such a massive success and for bringing so many ecosystem partners together. Today, I'm here to make a commitment on behalf of Refin. We will finance 2 million electric vehicles in March 2027. We are currently present in 14 states. We plan to be in 25 states by the end of this financial year. And I'm very proud to say that we've already taken the first step towards that goal. We've already financed 10,000 electric vehicles so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agrawal. May I request Mr. Shishir Agrawal from Sweden Electric Vehicle.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and all the Shoonya partners. A big thank you to NITI Aayog, Mygov, and RMI to give us an opportunity to showcase what we are doing on the EV front. Shigan Goals is a part of the Shigan Group, which is primarily into, alternate fuel solutions to the OEMs since last more than 2 decades. As a part of our diversification plan, we entered into the electric vehicle space in 2015. So we have, endeavored to bring in new products. So our success stories are primarily, we have niche products which we build up for Swachh Bharat mission, the last mile garbage collection vehicles on L3 and now L5. And also then post that we built up vehicles which were suitable for last mile deliveries for online platforms. So there we made a big deal and also, floated a offshoot where we are testing the ground with our own logistics company, giving services and finding out the nuances of the entire ecosystem. So we pledge, as a part of the Shoonya campaign to ourselves deploy more than 1,000 vehicles in the next 1.5 years, and also be a part of, the supplies to our partners to different fleet companies who would like to use our products. So a big thank you to all the organizers and good luck to the Shoonya campaign and all the partners in the Shoonya campaign. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Agrawal. May I now request Mr. Akash Deep from Static to give his announcement.
Good morning, everyone. Myself, Akash. I am heading the R&D at Static. So basically, Static is India's largest EV charging network. We have our own in-house charger technology and mobile applications. Recently, we have closed our series A funding round of 25.7 million US dollars from Shell Ventures. And we are fully committed to build India's EV infrastructure. Our aim is to install 10,000 fast charging stations and 20,000 community charging stations by 2025. As a short-term goal, we want to have 2,500 fast chargers by end of this year. We are also targeting 5 lakh plus chargers for both two-wheeler and three-wheeler. Recently, we have launched a new product that is AdPort. It is a 22 kilowatt dual-run Type 2 charger with an advertisement screen. So we are providing free charging in these chargers and they are installed at the residential societies. So Static feels very privileged to be part of this Shoonya campaign. Kudos to the team for organizing this. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Akash. Next up is Sun Mobility, requesting Mr. Pramod Sharma to please join us on stage.
Good morning. Compliments and congratulations to NITI Aayog, RMI, as well as all the corporates for making a successful 1 year of Shoonya launch. We at Sun Mobility are providing universal energy infrastructure and services. Our aim is how in emission mode we accelerate the EV adoption in the country. To date, we are operating in 18 cities and we have covered around 15 million kilometers as of date, 1.3 million swap on our platform. What we want to do going forward, the infrastructure is modular and scalable, works across the LEV. And we have 10 million partners, 20 odd vehicles on the platform which are running. And short term, Mr. Sunil Sinha is not there, but he loves to have it. Short term reason is what we have achieved 50 million kilometers in 4.5 years of operation. In the next 6 months, we'll do another 50 million kilometers and more than 1.2 million swaps roughly. So that's what we are working with. Long-term vision is 40,000 swap stations across the country, have 3 million swaps a day, and have 1 million vehicles on the platform of Sun Mobility. So that's what commitment is. Contribution is to the Shoonya campaign and to the industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sharma. May I now invite Mr. Nilanjan Gupta from The Sustainer.
Good morning, guys. Zero emission sounds pretty good, but if it's zero and your battery SOC, it's a big anxiety that creates. Here we're a EV charging ecosystem and a aggregation company. We connect with stakeholders who are willing to set up charging station, connecting them with owners, space owners, entrepreneurs, government bodies, and private entities to create a complete hub in antidoting the charging anxiety. Here we are to announce the four major things. Every owner has to depend on 4 or 5 different charging networks to find a charger on their way to intercity charging station nearby. We wish to set up a super app which will connect all the chargers which can be found in the thingy so that end user doesn't need to swap between 4 or 5 different apps to find a charger. We're connecting with a couple of big infra companies like JBM Group and small entities like Shulab International and all that to find a good connection between a CAC company with a infra company and connecting them with a place company where a quick implementation of charging station can happen. We are supported by Exicom, we are master distributor of them, and that's supported by a charging network of 7,000 chargers already in our system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. May I now invite Mr. Saurabh Mishra from Thunder to announce his commitment.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Saurabh. I'm the founder of Thunder. So, actually, we provide last mile deliveries to B2C companies and stores using our market stores. We then integrate. We started in 2021 with a team of 3 members only, all young, that knew that much knowledge about the EVs. We didn't know who can help us. It was hard to start, but Shoonya was a good platform to collaborate and work with like-minded companies and individuals. Now we have 100 plus delivery agents and 100 plus which is 30% of our plate size. I'm happy to remind that we have 1,000 more reviews by the end of 2023. We are also collaborating with financial institutions to help our drivers to own EV finance. EVs are the future. We are the future. Join hands. See them on the app. Thank you so much.
We now invite Mr. Aditya Kumar from Urja Board to share his announcement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aditya Kumar. I'm the founder of Urja Bolt. And coincidentally, we complete 1 year of Urja Bolt's incorporation in September this year, along with Shoonya ka Safar. So at Urja Bolt, we are enabling a last mile delivery system with L5 category cargo vehicles and trained drivers as a service. And as you can see, our target commitment that we have to be covered by March 2023 is to make new 175 distributors in the lower and middle segment to adopt cargo EVs. On road more than 350 L5 category cargo EVs and cover 2.8 million green VKPs till March 31, 2023. And to close this, I would just like to say, हम सब पूरी ऊर्जा से करेंगे शून्य का सफर और आगे बढ़ेंगे शक्ति से समृद्धि की ओर.
Thank you so much, sir, and sincere apologies that the slides were not showing up due to technical glitch. Next, we have Mr. Ashish Agrawal from Vayu. May I now invite him to please share his commitment?
Good morning, everyone. At Vayu, we are doing long-term rentals for electric two-wheelers. We've been doing this for close to 3 years. The focus given by Shoonya has really helped us a lot, along with, I think, the whole ecosystem. At Vayu, we are offering these for both B2B and B2C players. And when we say B2C, it really helps us drive these into new customers who have not yet adopted the EV, can rent our vehicles and they can get onto the EV bandwagon. And on the B2B side, we are working along with shippers, along with a lot of logistics service providers. At the same time, we are also working on the bottom end of it with the drivers who are not able to afford electric vehicles. So in that scenario, we've been able to achieve, we are very close to 2 million electric kilometers. And over the next 1 year, next 12 months, we are looking to add another 2,000 electric vehicles on the platform. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Vibhav Vyas from Your Charge to share his commitment.
Good morning. I'm Vibhav from Your Charge. What is Your Charge? Your Charge basically is a EV charging infrastructure startup, and we were today our corporate announcements. You know, we aim to deploy 10,000 EV chargers pan India with our charging management software. We also aim to do strategic partnership with under fleet operators on build own operate model. And through this, we want to enable them to make their transition to the electric vehicle mobility. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Arabindo Prasad Patro from Zive to share his commitment.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Aravindo Prasad Patro, co-founder and CEO of GWay Mobility Private Limited. About GWay, we are an e-mobility solution provider who provides EV charging station and e-scooter ride-sharing to B2B segment. We are here to announce few announcements. We have GWay. We are targeting 500 charging stations outside New Delhi, Jaipur, Dehradun, Bhubaneswar by 2023. We are focusing on key awareness campaigns for investors and consumers for EV charging station. We are also planning for providing e-scooter ride-sharing solutions to institutional customers by the end of 2022. We have launched dedicated mobile app for EV users, smooth connectivity. Thank you so much for inviting us to participate in this lovely event. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Now may I invite Pratik Rao from Zingo to share their announcement.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. So thank you so much, for NITI Aayog and Shoonya, the backbone of this EV revolution in India. And, as Zingo, we are basically a tech-driven, hyperlocal and last-mile logistics partner. We are quite synonymous to the EV transition that is happening in India, and we are just supporting this transition. So, in terms of announcements, we really want to acknowledge the fact that we are already scaled up to 1,000 plus vehicles so far, and it's a mix of electric three-wheelers and two-wheelers. But now, the next milestone for us to be scaling up to 6,000 vehicles by the end of March 23. We are targeting to do 2.5 million green deliveries in this journey, and also empowering a lot of driver partners who are basically a significant role into our journey for this EV momentum. Thank you so much for this opportunity, for having us here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. And now for the last presentation, may I now request Mr. Akash Gupta from Zip Electric.
Good morning, everyone, and many congratulations to the entire NITI Aayog and Shoonya team on completing 1 year of this great initiative. So if you see any green vehicles running around delivering goods for you, those are all Zip Electric vehicles, and we've just started. There are about 7,000 vehicles which are running across Delhi NCR. Last month, we did about 1.35 million plus deliveries, all green, all sustainable, all pollution free. And we feel that Shoonya, Zip, all the partners who are doing this, whether it's charging, battery swapping, multiple players doing three-wheelers, two-wheelers, it's a celebration for all of us, startups who are, driving the EV and, pollution-free movement in the country.
From Zip's side, I can say that while we are at about 7,000, our plan is to get to 70,000 next year, right? We are racing towards a 10x growth. We are doing mostly Delhi NCR, but we've just started Bangalore, and we would love to kind of electrify the country over the next, 12 to 18 months. Our plan then for the next year is 100,000 EVs, and we are clearly heading towards that, right? So the idea is to make Delhi green and then the country green and possibly then the world go green together. Yeah. And once again, congratulations to Shoonya campaign for this.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. Huge round of applause again to all the corporates who've shared their announcements today. Before closing the session, we would like to do an open call for additional announcements from our partners. May I request ushers to please help with the mics and volunteers to kindly stick to 30 seconds to share their announcement. Yeah, so please go ahead.
Hi everyone, myself Chetan Chaturvedi. First of all, thanks a lot to Shoonya, NITI Aayog and India, for organizing such an event. I represent Batteries Mobility, we're a young startup. The last 6 months, we have converted our entire fleet to electric. We are here to commit that we'll be moving towards around 1,000 EVs by the March 23. And we aspire to reach around 10,000 EVs by the end of 2024. So I congratulate all the stakeholders and especially to Shoonya for getting all of us on such a great platform. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi. Any more volunteers who would like to share their announcement with us today?
Yeah, sure. I'm Sumit Das from Bikusi Ecotech Private Limited. We are one of the partners with Shoonya campaign. We have been associated since the last 1 year. We are from Northeast India, and we are the only company from Northeast to be driving the ecological campaign over there. We are committing to a fleet of 10,000 electric vehicles over the next 2 years in the region of Northeast and West India. We provide electric fleet as a service, which are fleet provided with procured and paid through the national carrier services. We are very happy to be a part of this campaign. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Das.
Hi, very good morning. This is Raju, Head Investments Promotions, Government of Andhra Pradesh. Well, I want to see the show me there. See a small seed, a small germinating seed. Wonderful announcements made by different corporates here. I think that these are all very smaller seeds, and these seeds need a very fertile ground. I'm going to present. The state of Andhra Pradesh is offering that fertile ground to you. The seeds do not remain as seeds, but when they flourish, become a great forest of green. We talk about certain things which might excite the partners and the ecosystem players here. We strongly believe that along with the right policy interventions, the market access through the government and then the facilitation in terms of implementation and execution are very important. Let me proudly tell you that the state of Andhra Pradesh is the first state to announce the adoption of 1 lakh electric four-wheelers for entire state government employees. Apart from this, we are also committed to convert all our electric buses of 10,000 fleet into electric, either through the or the pure EVs. And as a response to this, very recently, one of the strongest players in the electric bus manufacturers is setting up their operations in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Apart from this, cities which are smart, such as Visakhapatnam, Toolkits, and Vijayawada, we have earmarked these cities to ensure that all the last mile mobility services, be it passenger mobility or the cargo mobility, will be turned into electric. So I'm here to encourage all of you that if at all you're looking for a fair playing ground and a right fertile land for your ideas to flourish and explore, join us. I can be found on LinkedIn as Rajiv YSR, or you can look my email ID as rajiv.ysr@aped.co.in. Look forward to see some of these pilots being implemented in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Thank you very much, NITI Aayog, and thank you very much for promoting the show. All the very best in yourself. March towards Shoonya. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajiv.
Thank you.
In the interest of time, we'll take a few more announcements. Kindly stick to 30 seconds, please.
Charge you. We are electrifying the highways fast charges. We are supporting 500 buses and 3,000 buses highways by setting up the charging, DC fast charging infrastructure. And 10,000 kilometers at highway, we got 5 bus. We are partnering with Mercedes, Hyundai, and others to achieve this. In addition to our DC fast charging network.
Great, thank you, sir. I think we have our last volunteer for the day.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Jaskin Bedi from Zomato. Apologies for not sending our commitment prior. Just wanted to reiterate that Zomato has a commitment to adopting 100% EVs by 2030, and we're very happy to announce that as of March 2022, we had approximately 4,500 EV-based delivery partners associated with us. Thank you so much.
Great, huge round of applause and gratitude to all the corporate partners. And with this, I would like to wrap up the session. May I request Ankur to please take over. Sorry, we just have one last announcement.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Deepika from EVRE. So we are a patented EV technology chargers. We manufacture chargers and we deploy them pan-India. So currently we work with about 1,000 plus unique vehicles, L5 vehicles all over the country. And by 2025, we plan to deploy at least about 50,000 chargers. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyotna, and other fellow industry leaders to ensure sustainable EV transition will be our commitments. It was exciting to see so many partners committing such ambitious targets. Now, I would like to go ahead with the eminent panel that will be discussing how to drive electrification of delivery and ride-hailing vehicles in India. I would like to start inviting the moderator of the panel, Ranveer Singh, to the stage. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Karan Thapar, Chairman of Grievous Cotton Limited. Next, I would like to invite Sumant Mishra, Chief Executive Officer of Mahindra Electric Mobility Limited. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Vinay Pathak, Vice President of Product Line Small Commercial Vehicles at Tata Motors. Also, I would like to invite Mr. Ashish Kundra to the stage. Mr. Ashish Kundra is Principal Secretary, Commissioner Transport, Government of Delhi. And last not the least, I would like to invite Ms. Akshima Ghate, Managing Director, RMI India, to the stage. Hello? Yeah.
First of all, thank you, Ankur, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to host today's panel discussion on driving the electrification of delivery and ride-hailing vehicles in India. Throughout this panel discussion, we will explore several themes. This includes identifying levers driving the electric vehicle in the final mile delivery and ride-hailing segment, understanding how manufacturing, finance, and policies can scale EV adoption in India, and discuss the role of Shoonya campaign in supporting the EV transition. So I'll start with all the panelists together, maybe from the Suman first, and it's a check-in question. So Suman, India is witnessing an EV revolution. And of course, first of all, thank you for already announcing the work which Mahindra is doing in EV side. So especially in the ride-hailing and the delivery sector, in your opinion, what are the key levers driving EV adoption in India, and how can we further accelerate this transition?
Hi. Hello. Yeah. Thanks. It's great to be here. Really, it's a very wonderful confluence of a few factors, right? One is thanks to the policy imperative of the government, it has made the purchase of the E3-wheelers, two-wheelers very attractive. Therefore, they are able to deliver the best total cost of ownership. So it's really about earnability. It is really about customer economics. And that is the biggest driving force, the total cost of ownership for a customer for the adoption of these vehicles. And actually today, on a per kilometer or a per kg per kilometer basis, these do deliver the best value proposition. More financing, it's somewhat available, more financing, more ecosystem. All of these will be necessary, and I'm sure we'll discuss this as we move forward.
Sure. So, Mr. Karan, your opinion about this? What are the things which are driving the ride-hailing and the delivery in our country, and what do you think requires the most push?
From my perspective, it's actually a pity, but the biggest driving force behind electrification is the government. I think government is really doing its bit. Even just as I walked in, I heard a representative of the Andhra Pradesh government announcing another very attractive or another mandate where at least government will be buying all their two-wheelers electric. So it looks to me that various governments are really behind this initiative. And that's a very good thing. Unfortunately, the actual adoption and penetration is a long way off. And I would like to address this inability to penetrate the market further, if that's your question, right?
Yes.
Into four different categories. The first one is the obvious challenge to disrupt something which is so entrenched, the internal combustion engine-driven mobility. So, psychological, which is well known, range anxiety, life of battery, charging ability, the stuff that I think everybody knows about. The second one in my book is, and probably the most important, is financial. The lack of data for various payload applications makes it almost impossible to estimate residual life, which in turn raises the cost of finance. I think abroad, and perhaps even in India, 9 out of 10 vehicles are built on a financed basis, and especially for fleet operators. This is a huge challenge. With the lack of available data, banks and other credit lenders are just not willing to take the required risk of residual life, which is a key determinant in the cost of finance. The other part is, of course, the battery life itself. Nobody's sure as to how that battery life will be for propulsion purposes. So that's another big challenge. Until these become a viable proposition, this risk is, in my book, the big one. Government, as I said, that's what's driving it. But most effective way to effect transition on a mass scale is regulation. That is coming across the world, whether we like it or not. And it will force the players in the industry to contend with both the psychological and the financial aspects. Subsidy, which government has been quite liberal with so far, has the effect to motivate us through financial measures, but at best, in my thinking, it's a short-term solution. It's a short-term measure, encourages initial investment and development of an ecosystem, hopefully big enough to make the market penetration of EVs significant. But eventually, the government will have to mandate a switch to EVs for certain applications or uses, just as many governments are doing globally. And ride-hailing and e-commerce logistics, to my mind, are a good candidate for this.
So currently you have a long list, but one thing which you started with is about government driving is its fortunate and unfortunate situation. And I think Sri sir is already here and he would be the best place to answer this because Delhi is pioneering not only the adoption, but also the awareness, scaling, bus sector, all facets of EV. Sir, over to you.
Am I audible?
Yes.
So thank you. See, I think in the ride-hailing, this last mile delivery space, first of all, we have to understand and accept that these are people who are in the gig economy largely. So they typically tend to supplement their incomes by using these kind of delivery modes, whether they are working for Amazon or Zomato or Swiggy or whatever it is. And I think it's a very price-sensitive market. However, I think the regulatory push from the government side, for example, in our case, we have issued a draft scheme which mandates that there will be a progressive conversion to EV by all aggregators, whether they are passenger service vehicles or whether they are into e-commerce or they are last mile delivery companies by 2030. So 2030 is the goal for 100% electrification. And unless such mandates are given, there will be an explosion of such vehicles in the market, which are polluting kind of vehicles. But I also must say that at the same time, because of the price sensitivity, I personally feel that the retrofitting market is another space which can bring the price down. So the retrofitment ecosystem in the electric vehicle space, I think is a very important but less talked about segment. And we are trying to push that also so that the adoption is easier and cheaper.
Thank you, sir. I'm not sure how much Karan is answered, but I think as we move on, more questions will prevail. Mr. Pathak is a Vice President, Product Line, Small Commercial Vehicles with Tata Motors. So it's very pertinent to ask you one particular question. How do you see the future of LCVs? So to say that how the market LMDT is what we say the Indian market is. How do you see that particular market is going to shape up in terms of the EV production and adoption?
Thanks.
Yes, you are audible.
I'm audible? Yes, thanks. So thanks, Randy. You need to understand that we are dealing with commercial vehicles here. And as someone was pointing out, people use them for make a living, they make a earning out of it, right? And therefore, it's very important to understand that there is a whole ecosystem of business which works along with that individual. It has been there for 100 years. So what we are seeing as a transition is from what you started 100 years back now into a new mode. And therefore, this transition has to take care of all stakeholders. And the poorest of the stakeholder is the person who owns the vehicle and makes a living out of it, right? And until and unless we take care of that individual and other stakeholders, whether they are OEMs, whether they are financiers, whether they are government as a policy making body, the ecosystem of providing service, until unless all of us work to ensure that that guy makes at least the same living that he's doing today or better, this transition will not continue to flourish. And that's the important piece for all of us. It's not about individuals. It's a joint effort that everybody has to come together. All stakeholders have to come together and ensure that that last mile guy who's making an earning out of that on a monthly basis is still making the same money every month or is improving that. From a commercial point of view, it makes sense. Your operating costs go down dramatically when you move over to a EV vehicle, but the acquisition price is where the challenge is today. And we are working with the financiers, and I'm sure everybody else is also working in that direction. So how do we facilitate? And there's a structure of financing industry today. So we have a 5-year financing with certain kinds of terms and conditions. Now, you need to change that. Similarly, e-commerce companies, they have a contract that they give to this guy for a period of time. They need to change that. So we need to bring in a lot of change in the ecosystem for running the last mile delivery or even the ride delivery get converted into a sustainable change in the country. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes. So very important point you pointed out is last mile guy making money. Shoonya, we are working with the states also, and of course, from the Shoonya program side, how do you see this program will accelerate the EV adoption, and what do you think more needs to be done in this?
Yeah, thanks, Randeep. And I think what we are hearing again and again is that this segment is that early market segment that can really trigger the entire electric mobility revolution in the country. And to answer your question, Ranveer, that is why Shoonya, the campaign shows this segment, which is the last mile delivery and ride-hailing segment. And to just combine the question that you asked, and what the panelists have said, this segment today, even without incentives, has the most competitive and attractive total cost of ownership. The challenge, as our colleague from Tata Motors said, is the upfront cost that we still need to address. But the total cost of ownership, what the person is taking away in his or her pocket, is something that has made this segment very, very attractive. When we started Shoonya as a campaign, we realized that if we could gather the industry around these two segments, create that ambition, what we are really doing is that we are putting behind this campaign the public sector, the private sector, and we are bringing the very critical third piece, which is consumer awareness, on the table to create a positive ambition loop of vision, of targets that have been unparalleled before. So that's, I think, to answer your question, is what is really unique about Shoonya. Industry, government partners, as we've seen, they've all embraced this campaign. This segment is just the right segment from a total cost of ownership perspective. What it will do in the initial years, the segment, is it's going to seed charging infrastructure that we've been struggling, because a lot of players in this segment are going to install captive infrastructure. So it's going to seed that infrastructure. It is going to create electrical infrastructure that is really needed for the mass deployment. So the way I see Shoonya and all of this initiative is really taking us towards a very progressive vision of more than 30 at 30, but maybe at 100 at 30, 2030 kind of a vision for EVs. Yeah.
Sure. So, Suman, India is seeing a rapid rise in urbanization and the e-commerce market. And with that, vehicular movement for final mile ride and delivery are projected to rise by 80% by 2030. How do you see the transportation sector in India changing over the next 5 years? So to say by 2030, because that's the number that's the year which we all talk about.
See, there is no doubt in my mind that this particular segment, like she mentioned, is going to be the forefront of electrification. So it is going to be shared, it is going to be electric, and hopefully it will be very technology enabled, so we increase efficiency of the whole system overall. There are a number of projections, but I think we are thinking 50-60% electrification of this by 2030. Today, but just to set the context that Mr. Thakur also mentioned, that today we are talking about 5% electrification. We are nowhere at the scale that we would like to see for it to become the inflection point for the industry. So from 5 to let's say 30% by 25 is what, if we are able to achieve that, and that requires a very concerted effort, not just by the OEMs, the manufacturers, but also with the charging ecosystem, the financiers, and also establishing the end of life. So the closed loop ecosystem. Until and unless we can solve for all these issues, it will be difficult to see those numbers, but I'm pretty confident that because of the value creation that the customer experiences today, and also the benefits that I keep saying, that once you drive an electric vehicle, you're rarely going to shift out in the commercial segment because of the lack of noise, vibration, headache, all the adjacencies that come with the IC. So if we are able to push this and reach that 25 numbers, FY25 numbers of 30%, I'm sure we will be at the inflection point for scale. But a lot needs to be done.
So it's a follow-up question. I'm not sure whether I was allowed to ask or not, but I'm asking. So this exponential increase and the trajectory which we have to ride on, the charging infra and other things which you already mentioned, how do you think the Mahindra is going to contribute in all these? And now I'm going back to what Karan said, that it shouldn't be driven by the government, it should be driven by the industry.
No, and you know, like Mahindra and us, no, it's not the spot, it's the job. But Mahindra Electric has been trying to bring this electrification for a very long period of time, and fortuitously the environment has reached a point now where we can truly scale up. So, you know, as an OEM, our obligation, our first obligation is of course to bring better and better products which give you a far better value proposition to all our logistics players and the fleet partners or the passenger customers. So we continue to do that. But what we're also embarking on is, you know, partnership with a lot of the startups you saw in the room today, whether they were financiers, leasing company, or charging players, to try and solve the ecosystem issue. So we may not be able to do all of it ourselves, but we are very open to partnerships to give the complete solution to our customer. And as the leader, we must lead that charge as well. So yeah, we are pretty committed to that.
Definitely, Mahindra is definitely leading the way. In fact, in NITI Aayog, you see a lot of Mahindra very close. Yeah. The transportation sector contributes almost 30% of India's total carbon dioxide emissions, which are expected to rise threefold in the next 3 decades. EVs offer an opportunity to reduce these emissions. There is growing awareness also towards environmental sustainability in the nation for the past 2 years, in fact. What do we need to do to make it a mass movement? You know, from the adoption side.
I thought I'd sort of more or less address that in the first question. So I really don't take up more time repeating it.
Sure. So the following one. The Shoonya Capital now has a coalition of more than 130 partners. What do you see the role of Deep Scotland in this?
Well, we are very much part of the electric vehicle ecosystem as an OE through our subsidiary, Ampere, Breeze Electric Mobility. And we have another subsidiary of Breeze Electric Mobility, which is MLR Auto. So they cover the 2-wheel and the 3-wheel spectrum, both L3 and L5. And our sales are well over 10,000 vehicles every month for a number of months now. So, and that's increasing. So we are making an impact, but I'm afraid in a country where the annual purchase, at least pre-COVID, was over 20 million. It's still a drop in the ocean. It's going to take time.
Definitely it is. Ashish sir, recently Delhi has hit a significant milestone. 10% of all vehicle registrations are electric. What is happening in Delhi to electrify commercial, passenger and the delivery segments?
Yeah, so I think our focus right now is number one on the buses. So public transport, we have taken a decision henceforth all procurement will be electric. As we talk, we have already placed firm orders for 1,800 buses. We have already placed a request with CESL for procurement of another 6,300 buses. So by 2025, 80% of Delhi's bus fleet is scheduled to be electric. And as far as the commercial vehicles are concerned, what we have done is that we have tweaked the regulation of low entry timings in Delhi, where we have allowed electric commercial last mile delivery vehicles to enter the city during daytime also, when other fuel category vehicles are not allowed. So that is one. I think going ahead, probably it's time now that because pollution contribution, one of the highest segments is the commercial vehicles, whether trucks or buses. Perhaps we can think of, I had some initial discussions. If, for example, we set a timeline of, let's say, October 2023, and notify it now and say that October 2023 onwards, trucks in Delhi will either be CNG or electric. So I think that will give a big push for adoption of even the, commercial electric kind of vehicles. So I think it's a tweak of regulatory framework which will actually trigger the transition.
Sure. Mr. Pathak, almost 15 lakh EVs are registered as per the one dashboard. And as Sarah has pointed out, the commercial vehicle is going to be the next wave. What do you see the Tata is going to play a role in this in particular? Not only the LMDT, but HDT segment also.
So let me give you a sense of how we are seeing it as a Tata Group. We are committed to sustainability goals. In fact, what the country has committed to the world, we expect us to achieve it much ahead of that time. Today, our sense is that in the last mile delivery, I'm talking about delivery more specifically, the park size of vehicles across the country will be about 30 to 35 lakhs, right? And we expect half of them at least to go electric as soon as possible. So we're talking about the park size of nearly 15 to 16 lakh vehicles, which should go electric in terms of the delivery application. Now, to organize the supply of these kind of vehicles in terms of numbers, you need to have a supply chain because the volumes are going to be very high. You need to have a supply chain which is very reliable at scale. Therefore, Tata as a group is working with many options where we are looking at ensuring that we have a very robust supply chain for supply of this high volume vehicle. We are also investing where our mouth is in that sense. We are putting money into various projects. On the front end, the ecosystem part, more than the ecosystem, I think the ecosystem of servicing the vehicle so that the uptime of electric vehicle, see, you get benefit of electric vehicle only when it is running. If it is not running, you don't get that benefit. So the ecosystem of service has to be made enabled, and therefore the local mechanic till yesterday who was working with the ICE engine, will be able to work on the electric vehicle and therefore keep the uptime of the vehicle low to it. So a lot of upskilling has to happen in the service ecosystem also. And that we believe, that is where we are constantly working as Tata Motors. And Tata Power is working on the supply of chargers and other things. So I think as a concerted effort, we believe that this transition is going to happen. It's only a question of how fast. And we would like to be pioneers as a group and as Tata Motors, as an automotive company, to ensure that we lead the way rather than follow.
Yeah, great. So Akshima, we are running short of time, but quickly, one question with two facets. One is, you are working a lot with the states. What is your biggest learning with the states? who wants to implement the policy as soon as possible, ready to change. The second part, what do you suggest for the states to do?
It's a tough one. Lots of learnings for us, little. I think many of you may know that we've been for the last 3 years supporting Delhi government, we've been supporting Maharashtra government, Karnataka government in different ways, whether it comes to policy formulation or implementation. The biggest learning that I can share with this platform is that there is a lot of willingness from the government side to really make e-mobility happen. What they are really keen to is hear the ecosystem voices. There is an opportunity for all of us to share our challenges, our learnings on the technology. It's a new topic for everybody out in the ecosystem, especially with departments like industries, transportation, who are dealing with ICE engines for a very, very long time in terms of Motor Vehicles Act, regulation, standards. But the thing that I have taken away from our work in these 3 states, plus 12 more states where we have supported policies for electric vehicles, is that there is a strong willingness to hear out the industry, to hear out the ecosystem. So I think there is a big role for all of us to play in terms of supporting policy formulation. What is needed at the state front is very, very strong implementation. I think we right now only have a few lighthouses. Delhi is a big lighthouse state. Maharashtra is another one. Probably there are a few more that I may miss. These are just a few. So I think implementation of policy frameworks at the state level, the speed at which they are implemented, the efficiency and the transparency with which they are implemented, and also provision for them to act as platform for feedback for industry is something that will require a lot of concerted effort or support from likes of NITI Aayog, industry, CSOs. So that's where I feel that the policy 2.0 work begins. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And we are almost coming to the close of the session. Last question, or so to say, in fact, fishing out the ideas from your mind. What do you suggest Shoonya should now focus on? What should be the next step for the Shoonya? Maybe we can go from those one from you.
I mean, Shoonya has done a fabulous job creating awareness. I think 2 aspects perhaps. One is really beyond the metros. Can Shoonya focus on customer awareness of electrification in the urban, the J2s, 3s and 4s? And also, maybe a little bit outsourcing my work to you, also please educate several of the financing ecosystem to come to the playing ground here with a strong presence.
We'll ask Samir about it.
I think this is an excellent forum and it should retain its focus. And I'm slightly disagree with Sunil because the maximum pollution is in our cities and the trend to go towards cities is increasing. So I think it's easy to go everywhere, but real focus is required, prioritization is required. And it's these urban centers which are horribly polluting places.
Definitely. Thank you. Sir?
I think maybe a targeted campaign focused on the youth. Because youth, people, youngsters who are kind of very early adopters for new technologies, and students in colleges who are typically wanting to buy vehicles. I think if a massive campaign is run in colleges and universities, that will help in adoption of electric mobility faster.
Definitely, sir, we'll take a note of that. Pathak?
So in terms of marketing fundings, awareness is the first step. And I think Shoonya must be complimented, the entire team for doing a fantastic job on that. The next step comes that you have to bring those people into consideration. So how do we convert from awareness and what kind of influencing we can do around the education so that they start moving towards a consideration from awareness. So just being aware and therefore move them towards consideration and therefore like we discussed about the commercial part. So there is a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of I would say not even unawareness. There's a lack of belief that this is going to work. So how do we now convert our awareness program to move it towards the consideration, all the stakeholders? And that's where even the financials that Suman talked about to really.
Yeah, I think we've spoken so much about Shoonya's success. So one thing in year two I definitely want is all Shoonya partners to even more aggressively carry Shoonya logos, because the whole idea of awareness, we're still seeing a lot of partners not having the branding. I think we're working towards creation of a brand identity of zero pollution mobility in the country. So one request and one ask is really that we re-establish further and further the brand Shoonya. So that is one ask. And I think the second thing I feel, Shoonya has become such a big platform, 130 players. I think this is unparalleled. How can Shoonya now enable partnerships? How, say, leasing companies, financing companies on Shoonya platform talk to OEMs, talk to fleet providers, and enable partnerships, pilots, scaling in different geographies is what I would expect from Shoonya.
Thank you. We'll take maximum 2 to 3 questions from audience. If anybody, yeah. Your name, organization, and whom you are asking the question.
My name is what particularly at the stage when we have a roadmap and you've seen a lot of that that what do we take it to that particularly in the electric industry? So how do we take care of the safety and the safety related messages going around? How do we take care of that?
So who wants to take this question, by the way?
Okay, I'll take that question. It's very important. See, any new technology, when it's put into application, sometimes creates outcomes which are not very desirable, right? And electric vehicle technology is such that it is dependent on the environment. It is also dependent upon the practices. It is also dependent on the upkeep. In fact, I remember when we first introduced the CNG buses in Delhi, initially there were a lot of issues of thermal incident in buses, and then a lot of corrective actions had to be taken on many fronts, right? And a lot of driver training also happened, a lot of upkeep service. So I think as an ecosystem, we need to ensure that the thermal part, and that is the challenge that we are facing on electric vehicle, the thermal part of the entire technology is understood by the stakeholders, right? I think on the government side, a lot of standardization is coming in. The latest regulation which is coming in is causing some pain to us, but nevertheless, it is a step in the right direction, and we should look at it that way. So a lot of standardization would happen on the product testing validation. Also on the second tier and the third tier suppliers also, because they also become a very important part in terms of the performance and the safety of the vehicle. The application and the use of the vehicle is equally important, and therefore we need to understand. That is why I was hyping on the service part of the whole effort. Because if you don't keep the electric vehicle in a proper shape and don't charge it properly in that sense, they might have trouble. So the entire ecosystem has to really work together. It is a challenge, I agree, and I think everybody is trying to put in that effort. And I'm sure we'll come out of this very soon.
Someone also wants to add something.
Yeah, I just want to say that, there is a significant amount of technology development that happens and a lot of testing. Just talking about the big OEMs right now. We run 200 tests on our battery packs and the vehicle integration before we put it out on the road. So there is a need to focus on very high quality engineering and testing rather than put vehicles on the road as fast as you can with the cobbled together parts. So, this is why there is an evolution in technology, and it is not a switch on, switch off in technology. So I would just say that, at least from the established OEMs house, that we continue to invest significantly in product development, technology, understanding, how thermal dynamics works inside the cell pack and the vehicle, and that we will continue to do. So, 53,000 vehicles on the road, and we will continue to do it. Our vehicles are quite safe. So we will also work obviously with the government and as the new regulations come through, as long as they're relevant and targeted. But already I'm telling you that we do a lot of tests before we put the vehicles out, and that is because our brands are associated with it. So I would just say that, some incidents by some should not hopefully tarnish the whole industry. And when there is new technology, I agree with him, there are always going to be some challenges. But if we again focus on the correct product development and the correct engineering, I think we will easily come out of this phase.
Yeah, and I think with the revised 038 and AS 156, I know there is a lot of noise in the industry regarding the implementation timeline and of course some of the points which are there. But I think finally we will come on one dais to agree on that, hopefully. One more we can take.
Hello, my name is Shravan. We are a startup EV OEM. We're building a two-wheeler for the logistics and ride hailing as well as personal utility. So my question is to all, but primarily to Mr. Ashish. I see that there is a lot of initiative that to promote inclusivity, to bring in more women participation in the three-wheeler, four-wheeler space. Do you see any initiatives or, in the two-wheeler space? Because the bulk of logistics and, bike taxis and these are all getting, a lot of traction. And, bulk of this happens, right? Logistics happens on two-wheelers. So do you see any initiatives on that front? Thank you.
Yeah, so, bike taxis, first of all, let me clarify, in Delhi, so far it's not allowed. However, the aggregator guidelines which we have, the draft which is out in the public domain, which is in a final stage now, there we are considering allowing electric bike taxis if they are aggregators of electric bike taxis. And there, I think, the initiative which we have taken for women, actually, it is around any kind of aggregators who want to partner with us. And, we bear 50% of the cost of training the women driver. And the fleet aggregator takes 50% of the cost. And then it offers back-to-back employment. So Blue Smart has tied up with us. ETO, the auto rickshaw people, they have tied up with us. Then some last mile delivery aggregator of two-wheelers also came to see me. So we are open. And we have now created a database even of women who have a driving license and are looking for a job. In fact, somebody did mention to me, frankly, that in the case of last mile deliveries, women are more reliable than men. So their productivity is higher. So I think that's why they are actually looking to scale up very rapidly in that space. And we'll be happy to support.
So that was a wonderful discussion we just had. It was great to hear enriching insights, experts to drive adoption of EVs in delivery and ride-hailing sectors. We would like to present a token of appreciation to our esteemed guest. I would like to invite Mr. Samita Shiladar to present token of appreciation to Shri Ashish Kundraji. We're grateful to all our experts for joining us today, and we request to assemble for a photograph, please. Thank you everyone for joining us. Before we break for lunch, I would like to provide a brief remark on the afternoon run-off show. After the lunch, we have group discussions on the role of Shoonya campaign in supporting EV ecosystem. Each of you should have received a discussion group number during registration. Please plan on participating in your assigned discussion groups. As highlighted in starting, we have three breakout groups. One, communicating for impact, this side. Second, mobilizing EV finance, that's that corner. And third, on policy ecosystem on this side. So the first one, I'll introduce all the three breakout groups quickly, and we'll be inviting our experts to give a brief intro about the breakout groups. First one is communicating for impact, driving behavior change through consumer engagement and collaboration. I would like to invite Shoonya Tripathi for the summary of the session.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here today. Obviously, this is a huge milestone for the Shoonya campaign. And as was mentioned by my colleague, we are really wanting all of you to participate this afternoon in the breakout sessions so that we can think about collaborating and further driving the adoption of electric vehicles through the Shoonya campaign. So I will be facilitating with my colleague Marshall the Communicating for Impact session. As you know, consumer awareness is a very critical component of driving awareness of increasing electric vehicle adoption throughout the country. Now, we, RMI, NITI Aayog, we've been partnering together on the electric vehicle transition for almost 6 years. And I think what had become increasingly clear to us was that there was a general lack of awareness amongst consumers of the health, the environmental, and the economic benefits of electric vehicles. So taking that into mind is where we decided to launch the Shoonya campaign. As you know, the campaign has three pillars. First is the corporate branding program, in which we provide stickers that can be put on vehicles, on parcels, as well as on driver uniforms. So that's one component. The second component is the actual consumer awareness campaign. Now for that, we did produce a brand film, we launched social media channels, we've held social media campaigns on Earth Day, World Environment Day, just in general to continue driving awareness and conversation in the public sphere. We also were very fortunate this year to work with Mygov, and that campaign has also been very successful and will be continuing for some time. The final component of our campaign has been the online toolkits, which we launched 2 of them today, and we will be launching additional toolkits in the coming months on the Shoonya website. Keeping all of that in mind, seeing where we have come 1 year into this campaign, we really need to think about what does Shoonya 2.0 look like? What do we need to do to take 130 partners to 250 partners? What do we have to do to get a brand film from 68 million views to 1 billion views? So we really need you all to participate today. I think we're all invested in this ecosystem. We all want to see it scale great heights. So please do join us if you're in group 1 right there after lunch. Thank you so much.
Thank you, William. The second breakout session which we have is on mobilizing EV finance, solution pathways to scale EV adoption through financing. That I would like to invite Ms. Riya Saxena to the stage to give an overview of the session. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for staying with us. Financing is a problem that needs no introduction. I think all of us here very clearly understand and realize the important role finance and capital will play in scaling the EV industry, and it's an utmost importance of pillar that we all need to pay attention to. As I know, we've done some research around the EV financing market, and what we did see was that the cumulative capital that is required for the cost of transition between 2020 to 2030 is about USD 266 billion. And this is across vehicles, charging stations, and batteries. The projected size of the annual loan market for EVs in 2030 is estimated to be around 50 billion. This clearly is an immense opportunity, but where we stand today, there are very clearly articulated challenges that more than me, all of you sitting here clearly understand. High interest rates, low loan-to-ratio value, short-term tenures, limited financing options. And a lot of this stems from very systematic barriers that we have seen are established in the space. Some of these come from technology risks, policy risks, manufacturing risks, resale value risks, utilization risk, customer utilization risk, and a lot of operation risks as well. From where we stand today and the discussion that we want to have is, given this knowledge that we all have about the challenges, what can we really do to move towards solutions? And some of the solutions, I think, are fairly well understood in the market and articulated well as well. For instance, exploring warranties, guarantee systems, exploring interest subvention schemes, working with financiers so that they can understand some of these systematic risks that are there along with EV financing better, exploring what would it take to build a secondary market for these electric vehicles, exploring what would an open data repository for lending mean, and what could some new age digital lending norms, underwriting norms look like is something that could be explored. So the session today on financing is really going to focus mostly on these solutions. What are some of these solutions that we as Shoonya partners can come together and work towards addressing? What are some of the actionable insights that we can really take ahead and try and see from different stakeholders' perspective? How can we reduce some of these systematic barriers that are there? So for this session, please do join us. We'll be sitting right there at the back. It's called Mobilizing EV Finance. And the facilitator for the session along with us will be Samita, who you've already met during the day. Thank you all, and I hope to see you all in the session.
Thank you, Riyam. The third breakout session which we have is on advancing EV policies. The role of Shoonya campaign in informing policy frameworks. Given an overview of the session, I would like to invite Mr. Dimpi Suneja to the stage. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Ankur. So throughout the day today, we've been talking about a lot of policy interventions that have been taken on both state and national levels, through which the government has tried to signal to create a conducive environment for electric vehicle promotion. Something that most of you in the room have been associated with us for a very long time to understand what we do regarding the subject and what we aim to do, essentially through these policies. The business use case that largely Shoonya encapsulates ensures a higher degree of asset utilization and in turn accelerated rate of return. So we are gathered here through this breakout group to discuss on what could be the possible policy interventions that the ecosystem largely requires as we move ahead the journey of sort of promoting this vehicle segment. Largely, the policy segment that we're talking about in the intervention so far can be put together in about 4 to 5 different categories. The large one of it has to be driving EV adoption, which largely deals with fiscal, non-fiscal incentives, creating awareness. Of course, with something that we've seen globally too, the states and cities or even nations who are taking the EV transition ahead have focused largely on charging infrastructure. So what we need to, what probably, states and cities in India need to do going forward is to have charging infrastructure as one of the driving forces in terms of EV adoption. And of course, we cannot sort of disregard what the after-sales services through skill development, through battery recycling that needs to support the EV ecosystem. And largely, of course, something that we've been talking about for a really long time is policy implementation. But all of that being said,
a lot of states and cities, as we've seen so far, have done a good job in terms of promoting this segment. What we are here today through this session to ensure that what would our policy 2.0 look like. We need to discuss on how would these buckets, how would these interventions would look as India progresses towards an evolved market for this vehicle segment specifically. Just to sort of roll out a few suggestions and probably bucketizing a few things that might help out from our understanding in terms of implementing and supporting EV policies across various states and cities. We know that consultative approach has always done its job. We know that inputs from the industry, inputs from various stakeholders, academia, think tanks included, have really pushed the industry as we go ahead. We know that time-bound operationalization of the policy has made sure that the stakeholders and consumers alike have faith in what the government and the cities have been trying to do. And largely a dedicated institutional infrastructure system has helped. So I'll leave it at that without taking further ado, but just to reiterate the fact that we're trying to look at a policy 2.0 for the segment that we're talking about and gathered here today. The topic will be discussed at this corner, and the facilitator for the session, as all of you, a lot of you might already know, is Mr. Mangal Patil. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dimple. If you have any other questions regarding any of the breakout sessions, please see my colleagues Samita and Chetna here. After the breakout discussions, we will reconvene for a report out session and the closing remarks. Without a further ado, let us all break for lunch. I would like to request all of you to please come back by 1:30 because of the efficient discussions today. We are running 30 minutes early, and we request you all to come back at 1:30. Lunch will be served across the corridor in the Friendship Hall. Thank you very much.